Just Lovely Living, where we create the atmosphere for you to celebrate your grace, beauty, and style. I'm your host, Tanya D. Bryant, and today we are in Sandy Springs, Georgia. Now, our last episode, we were talking about personal growth, and we're going to stay on that same theme for this episode as well. We're going to talk about how you can tell your story and leaving a legacy for your family. I'm excited about this particular episode, so let's get started. We are here with Denise Renee, and I just wanted to share with you how we connected. We connected through an organization called XC.
Experience Connections.
Experience Connection. It is a women's group, and they meet on a monthly basis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know that I'm an author, read Glory, the day I took off my uniform. Now, this is the person that inspired me to write that book. I asked Denise Renee to do a bio. I wanted a professional bio, and we talked on the phone for about an hour. You asked me a couple of questions. I didn't know where you were going with all of that. But a few weeks later, I got an email with my bio.
Wasn't that long.
Wasn't that long?
I don't think so.
I don't know. But after reading that bio, I was actually in tears.
Yes.
Because to see your life on paper is just amazing. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. Sharing your story, writing your story. And Denise Renee will be able to help you out with that. And she's going to explain to all that a little bit later as well. But I was so excited to see my bio and to be able to share that with everyone else. And it really inspired me to write my book.
I was super proud when you did that. I was like, what? Go ahead now. Okay.
I was like, this is me on paper. And I wanted to expand that story so that people will get to understand who I am and hear the backstory of the business. So I rolled out with it, and you were the reason why I wrote my book. So thank you.
You're more than welcome. I'm always happy to help someone, inspire them to live their authentic life, be their true self, and share their God-given talents with the world. So, hey, my purpose fulfilled.
It is fulfilled, yes. Now, before we get started in all that business stuff, and I know we have a lot of hats to fulfill.
Sure enough.
And before we even put on that entrepreneur hat, who is Denise Renee?
Well, Denise Renee is, you know what? I think the last thing that I just said is exactly who I see myself as. I am definitely a person who wants to help people to connect with their God-given purposes and connect with their God. And I do that through, the gifts that I have. And when I see that, like I said, it's like purpose fulfilled. It's my joy is complete. If something that I've written for you or helped you to write, or music that I've created, has helped you in any way to get to what it is that you are meant to do, that's what I'm here for.
Music that you created.
Music
What's
that I
that all about?
I know a lot of people don't know that I'm also a musician.
Wow.
Singer, songwriter, producer. Eons ago, I don't even want to say how long ago. When I was 2 years old,
right.
I put out a CD. It's still floating around there on the internet under my my old performance name, but I never tell anybody what my old performance name because I don't want them to find it.
We're gonna go look it up though.
You ain't gonna find it. I think the second thing I would say about who Denise Renee is I am a creative individual. My two main creative outlets are writing and music. I like dancing. I like to move. I can be choreographed. I wouldn't consider myself a dancer, but if the music starts, I'm going with it. So,
okay.
And then of course you have the hats, mom, daughter. Well, I was about to say ex-wife, but I'll be a wife again. It's okay. He got to find me. He's got to find me because I'm busy. But I'll be here, okay? I'm here. Come find me. And I'm also very real.
That she is. Denise Renee is going to share with us what she does. And she's going to show us as well. We're going to move over to her office space so you'll get a feel of her creative space as well. So tell us.
Well, my business name is The Duranko Agency, and you can find it at thedurankoagency.com. I'm branded out today. And what I do is I work with executives and with entrepreneurs, helping them to tell their story, write their story, build their legacy, and create more opportunities for themselves personally and business-wise. And I do that by ghostwriting their books and blogs, and also by strategizing on their content, whether that's web content or social media content.
Ghostwriting. Now, some of us may know what that means.
Yeah,
but
people tease
explain
me.
to us.
People
What-
tease
what
me, and
is-
they're like, "What do you mean ghostwriting? Like, do you disappear? Like, what is it?"
Or do you call in a spirit?
You know, I got a Casper the Ghost joke one time, and I'm like, okay, guys. Ghostwriting is essentially when another writer sits with someone who has an idea for a book or an article, and they interview that person, and they do the writing, but they don't get the credit. The person whose ideas it is the one who gets the credit, because really it is their creative content.
Right.
You just are hiring a writer to do the physical writing for you. For some people, writing does not come easy. Writing is a skill
Right.
as well as a talent. And so for some people like me, it does come very easy. I did go to school. I did study creative writing. I do have a degree in English, et cetera, et cetera. I have worked in marketing for quite a number of years. So I know how to write for a wide variety of applications. So for me, writing is a joy, it's a pleasure, it's a talent, it's a skill. And for those who it's not, or for those who don't have time
Right.
to do the writing, then they hire a ghostwriter in their business to help with those content pieces for their blog, or put out pieces like white papers or research papers or case studies, as well as putting out books, magazine content, whatever it is that they need to promote that business or promote themselves as an individual. Maybe that executive, that C-level executive, or that manager who's trying to move to the next space. They want to share what their expertise is. Well, one of the ways they can do that is by having a business blog where they talk about their subject matter, or they can write a book. And again, these two things can help them elevate themselves within their community. People get to know who they are. They trust them as a content matter expert, and opportunities start to come to them. They get speaking engagements, they get job opportunities, they get venture capital to start up, whatever business idea that they have. So writing is just so powerful. It can do so much for you when you apply it the right way. And like I said, I help people to actually write that content, as well as strategize how to make sure that they're getting to those opportunities.
Right. And I'm not a writer either, and that's why I called Denise Renee to do my bio. I mean, I have all creative ideas in my head, but it's hard for me to put it on paper. So I reached out to her. So if you're someone that is struggling with writing it down, you may even have journals that you want to put together, Denise Renee is a great option to sit down with her and gather up that story. Tell us how you start your creative process when you're thinking about those ideas of what to jot down.
Do a lot of reading, and that's one thing that informs a lot of some of my creativity, because I look at some things that people have already done, or sometimes I just read to get out of my head of a particular project. Ideas come when they come, but when it's time to work, I kind of move over into another space and get to work. So when I'm pretty much ready to get started working, this is the space that I do it in. It's my dining room / office. And two things that are critical to me in my business is my laptop and my phone. And pretty much as long as I have them anywhere, we're ready to go and we're ready to work. But when I'm home, in my home office, this is the space that I get down to business, crack this thing open, and get to writing.
One of the challenges that a lot of people have is just getting started. Can you give us some tips on how we can get started in our own writing process?
Absolutely. I think what happens for a lot of people is that they have a lot of ideas and they don't know where to go first. They don't know what to do first. So one of the things that I like to recommend to people is do what's called free writing. And free writing is where you set a certain amount of time. It can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You don't want it to be too long. Where you just sit and you write everything that's running through your mind. You don't edit, just let it flow. So even if it's something where you start by saying, I'm staring at a blank screen and I don't know what to write, but I have to write for the next 5 minutes. Maybe an idea will flow. You know, yesterday I was walking through the park and if it's that stream of consciousness, sometimes you just need that little bit of activity of just your physically either handwriting or typing. I like to type because I can type faster with 10 fingers than writing with 2. So whichever mode is easier or faster for you, do it. But try free writing for 5 or 10 minutes where you just write, you don't edit. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to even be related to what you're trying to write about, but it's just a good way to get moving. Another tip for getting started is to use an outline or create an outline for yourself. Very often people are just like, well, I just want to be, creative and let the ideas flow. But sometimes that doesn't always work for everyone. A great way is to give yourself some structure. Think about what it is that you're trying to write about, especially if you're trying to write a book. Think about what's that main idea that you want to communicate. Then think of what are the supporting topics. So if your main idea is your title, and then those supporting ideas are the titles of your chapters, then you can go in and fill in the information that you're trying to express. And it gives you a form and a structure. Even if later in the editing process you rearrange or take something out or rewrite, that's okay, but at least you have a place to start, starting with an outline.
Resumes. I know a lot of people, they're looking for promotions, to change jobs, change careers. How do you work with them with resumes as well?
Resumes kind of falls into the same category, especially for executives and high level managers. I do help people also with resumes. I've been kind of scaling back on that side of my business, but when people do come to me for it, I still do help them out. And really, it's a marketing document, and a lot of people are very uncomfortable with selling themselves, and they don't know what are the pieces of information that the person on the other side of the resume is kind of looking for, so that it jumps out and they pick up the phone and call them. Essentially, people often are trying to put everything into their resume, and you don't really have to do that. If you're conducting a really targeted job search, you know what you're looking for, you know the company that you're applying to a position for, then you really should do a little bit of research as to what they're looking for in that role, and highlight the things that relate to that role. Just give them what they need to see so that they pick up the phone. And the other thing is that a resume is not to tell your whole life story. Leave that for your bio, or leave that for your biography. But your resume is just a really quick snapshot. So you really have to pick out the best pieces of information, the juiciest pieces of information. It's like, the headline. Your resume, you know what it is? It's like when when I'm at the supermarket and I'm at the checkout, I call it the library, because I'm always looking at the magazines that have these crazy headlines, like, oh my goodness, this one's, pregnant, and this one's doing this, right? But those headlines, they grab you and they make you want to pick it up. And so I sit there and I read them and I never buy them. I'm horrible. But that's why I call it the library. But really, it makes you pick it up and you're like, oh, okay, well, I want to know a little bit more about that story. So your resume has to be kind of like that magazine at the checkout where you're like, oh, well, I want to know more about this person. So let me call this number and call them and get an interview. And that's the whole job of a resume. It's just to get the interview. When you get into the interview, you can tell them everything that you want to
think about some of the ideas that you may have that you want to put into a book. I know I have a friend, she's thinking about doing a cookbook.
Okay.
And I think that would be an exciting thing to do. Not only can they put recipes in there, but they can put their life story throughout that cookbook. All kind of ways that you can put your information into a book. And what a way to leave a legacy to your family. I know when my mother passed away about 4 years ago, there's so many times that I think about if I would have known, if she would have wrote this down or wrote that down, So you want to catch those ideas before those loved ones leave you and have them to write it on paper. I'm so glad that you decided to press that play button and listen to this particular episode, because I really want you to think about writing your own book for your family, to leave that legacy behind. And I thank Denise Renee for this interview as well. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure.
And we'll definitely leave all her information for you to contact her and reach out to her as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all for joining for this episode of Just Lovely Living. Have a lovely day.
Have a
Lovely day. Lovely day. All right. Let it flow.
Let it flow. Let it flow.
You know.
Don't mind. We're rolling? Okay. Another tip for help for.
This episode is sponsored by the Tarenco Agency. This episode was brought to you by Just Lovely Living. If you would like to be a featured guest or sponsor an episode, please reach out to us at info@justlovelylipstick.com. That's info@justlovelylipstick.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Have a lovely day.